Tons to get into today for our final Madden and Benz Unfiltered of 2025. Myself, Tim Benz, and Mark Madden from 105.9 The X and Trib Live. Brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. Meet me at Mike's. Do so before the final home game of the season on Sunday Night Football. We know that now. Steelers-Ravens, Sunday night for Week 18. To wrap up the AFC North, we'll figure out who goes to the playoffs because of what happened this weekend. Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore, 80 rotating taps, 500 available craft beers, the base of the Clemente Bridge across from PNC Park. It'll be a night kickoff because the Steelers lost to the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens beat the Packers, thus leading us to this final concluding game. And, you know, I've heard, Mark, a lot of people say this is the ultimate Tomlin upset loss. Of all the bad losses to bad teams that Tomlin has had, this one is the biggest of the bunch. I don't know if it is because I've lost track at this point. I think my favorite stat that I've seen that's come out since the loss the Steelers suffered yesterday against Cleveland came from Doug Clawson from CBS Sports. The Steelers are now winless, 0-4-1 in their past 5 games against teams that are 8 games below 500 or worse. That's the longest such streak in NFL history.
Yeah, I think it's boring to go through all the Tomlin minutia because it's a long list. He absolutely should be fired, but he won't be. And that's what makes the analysis boring. My current favorite is that he's lost the last 4 games in Cleveland, and the quarterbacks for the Browns have been Jacoby Brissett, DTR, Jameis Winston, and now Shedeur Sanders. It's like losing a best-of-7 series to Duck Hodges. Getting swept, might I add.
Yeah, over and over and over again, and 1-6-1 now in their last 8 trips to Cleveland. I've been trying to figure this out in my head, if this is going to be another one of those typical Tomlin scenarios where we bury him, we bury them for a week, and then they come back and win. It feels like it still could be that.
Yeah, I don't care. I've never cared less about a Steeler team than this one, and it's been building for years. This team gives nothing to get excited about because it's the same old story every year and nothing ever changes. There's no accountability in the organization. It's just not important to win. It's important to do things their way more than it is to win. And that's why, to kind of get sidetracked here, Tim, I don't believe the Steelers paid any extra attention to Garrett yesterday by way of protecting Watt's record. I think every team puts a lot of manpower into blocking Garrett. And every quarterback is going to throw the ball away early if he's looming, not least if you're 42 like Rodgers, because he's Garrett. But the notion of them doing so to protect Watt's record, it's totally believable because of how petty they are. Tom Petty.
Well, there's that. People are buying into that. Certainly Garrett fit into that because of his post-game quotes afterwards. But then there's, you know, the people that are 100% convinced that this whole thing is fixed, that the league rigged the game, which if that's the case, you feel that way because of the officiating calls or whatever, then was the league rigging it for the Steelers when they played in Baltimore the first time and when they played in Detroit when all those calls went the Steelers' way?
League doesn't rig games, Tim, not in any way, shape, or form. Anybody who says that is stupid. It goes back to Vegas when the mob ran Vegas. And all the games were rigged. They had, card sharp stealing, blackjack, etc. The wheels were weighted, the roulette wheels, the spin, wheels. But then they figured that there's no reason to fix it when you make more money doing it straight because then the people believe. NFL fans believe. There's no way the NFL would risk that. The crackpots who say it's fixed, I got zero time for them.
I saw so much of that because people just think it's a setup for Week 18. Well, then they did a bad job with the setup because the work almost turned into a shoot if Pat Freiermuth gets a few more yards. And by the way, Kenneth Gainwell wide open on, I think it was the 4th down throw where it went to MVS anyway. And I think some of the conversation is going in that direction now, Mark. Why is Aaron Rodgers only going to, quote unquote, his guys in crucial situations?
Because he's totally changed the offense to what makes him feel comfortable. And it's stupid, and it's not been good for the offense. Yesterday, the Steelers averaged 5.5 yards per rushing attempt, and they never trailed by more than 1 score after early in the second quarter, after Boz's first field goal. and yet they ran the ball just 24 times and threw it 39 times. Scotty Miller got 7 targets and shouldn't even be on the field. MVS got 9 targets and was on the practice squad till week 15. Rodgers has screwed this team up almost as much as he's helped it. It's coming to middle ground or whether he hurts more than helps right now.
And yet I still wouldn't rule them out bringing them back next year.
I don't rule out anything stupid because they're stupid. They like Tim. Here is the Steelers organization and the lack of accountability in a nutshell. DK Metcalf crippled the offense by getting suspended. We saw that yesterday. Crippled the offense by getting suspended. But yet they've already reinstated the $45 million worth in guarantees that he voided by getting suspended because nobody on that damn team can ever know an unpleasant moment. And the owner is Fredo. I can't say that on my radio station. I can say it here. He's Fredo. He's the dumb Corleone brother. He gets nothing right.
I want to know where all the folks are who were defending the team. I want to know where the team is itself on the second wide receiver thing, the number 2 wide receiver thing. When the media and the fans who were making a lot of noise about that for a second straight year, we were constantly told, you guys are making too much out of nothing. The Steelers can't have everybody all the time. Well, they can have a second wide receiver, and the fact that they tamped down any concerns about it over and over again suggests they didn't pay attention to last year because it was always this part of the scenario that we were most concerned about. It wasn't just about not having a compliment to Metcalf. It was what happens if Metcalf goes out for a while. Now, we weren't thinking about punching a fan and being suspended for 2 games. We were talking about injury, but at this point, what's the difference?
Tim, I have a message to all the Steelers stooge media. I said it last night on the podcast, too. We all feel very bad that Dale Ollie passed away. He was a great guy and a great football guy. You're not all getting his job. Quit sucking up. Quit embarrassing yourselves. It's an incompetent organization. Report the truth. And that's why I hated that Garrett narrative, Tim, because it gave all the usual suspects a chance to talk about something that didn't involve how friggin' awful the Steelers were.
Well, here's how stupid the Steelers are. Let's say that's true for a minute. Let's say that is actually there's something to it that they were trying to stay away from Myles Garrett setting the record. Well, then why did they throw 39 times? They should have run the ball more because I'd rather see Jalen Warren run it for 5.5 yards per carry as opposed to Aaron Rodgers try to throw it for 4.3.
Yeah, and again, I don't think they did that. Dump it and chip and double team Garrett any more than normally, like I just said. But it's believable because they're petty. I hate the Steelers right now. Hate them. There's nothing to like about them. Like I always hear the narrative, you guys are lucky to have Tomlin. Hey, Pittsburgh, how lucky did you feel at about 4:30 yesterday?
Yeah, all the what do you think about Tomlin now tweets after the 3-game win streak. I was unfazed by those because my opinion always was 3 games in a regular season has nothing to do with the 1 game in the postseason, which is what the whole conversation has been about for 9 years.
What I hate too, Tim, is like you talked earlier about what situation it was, and I'm so livid I'm losing my memory, not least because I'm old, but the Steeler media always they know better. Like, oh, don't worry about it. It's a good organization. Tomlin never had a losing season. They just speak in these absolutes that A, aren't absolute, B, don't matter. They ain't won a playoff game in 8 years. I heard Paul Alexander on the B team yesterday, who is a Tomlin critic, and I respect that because he's not trying for Lawley's job. Okay, probably too old to get it. No offense, Paul. Me too. And he's screaming. In 19 seasons, he's won a playoff game 4 times. 4 times. What don't you get? To which I add, what don't you get?
The oddest approach to the defense.
Not only is he not a great coach, he's a terrible coach. What didn't you get from yesterday?
The oddest approach to what they're trying to do to make up for the lack of a number 2 wide receiver. It always was, well, Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith, the 2 tight ends, will basically be that. And they've blatantly ignored and underused the 2 of them all year long.
But that's Rodgers too, because he fell in love with the fat kid. And now the fat kid has a broken arm, and I hope he recovers. I hope he's not in too much pain. It's absolutely the best thing for the team because now the real tight ends can play.
And that's the only way they're going to get any passing game whatsoever. Do you think the Steelers have a better shot if Huntley plays or if Jackson plays?
That's a good question. I think Baltimore simplifies when Huntley's in there. Lamar looked like an MVP. And look at what Henry carried 36 times, I think, 200 yards against
Green Bay.
Green Bay, right? I mean, I don't know. Put it this way. I would rather have Snoop in there than Lamar in there dinged up for the Ravens' sake.
I think, if Harbaugh could do this, if he was smart enough to do this, and by the way, I disagree with the results or the tone of the results that I put up on a Twitter poll where I've gotten lots of votes. I said, who's most likely to screw this up next week, Tomlin or Harbaugh? And it's 89% of people saying Tomlin. That's not giving Harbaugh enough credit. He's totally capable of screwing this up. You know it. Harbaugh could totally screw this up, but I want to see what he can or can't do. If it's not Lamar, what game plan does he come up with for Huntley to make some sort of impact that Lamar could, to somewhat simulate what Lamar could?
I don't think that'll happen. I think that if Snoop has to play, he will just batter the Steelers with Henry. Coaches are in love with what works and in love even more so with what worked recently. And I think he'll look at what beat Green Bay and figure it can beat the Steelers, and he's probably right.
Yeah, I think that the Steelers' one strength on defense is when they know they can overload to stop one thing, they're usually pretty decent at it. When they only have one thing to defend, they can usually do it. And they've done that a couple times, like Jahmyr Gibbs, when they just loaded up to stop Jacobs, when they loaded up to stop HN, they were pretty good about it. When they've got to diversify their defense, that's when they get in trouble. If they see Lamar, they'll diversify. If they see Huntley, they'll just try to load everything up against Henry.
I got to be honest, Tim. I mean, we're going to talk X's and O's on my show all week, and we're doing it here, strategy and whatnot. I think it boils down to the Steelers are going to lose because they have no momentum. Baltimore has momentum, and the Steelers are gutless. They showed they were gutless yesterday. I think they're going to come home, fall behind early. The crowd's going to turn on them, and it's going to go real bad real fast.
Well, at least the Penguins outscored them, Mark.
Yeah, how about that?
7-3 last night?
7-3, yeah. It says a lot that when it was 4-0 after one, I did not feel at all safe.
No, not at all. It just felt like, and then they got the first one. They made it 4-1. Did they make it 4-2 as well? Well, I can't remember.
No, 4-1, then 5-1, then 5-2. But that felt okay because at that point, you're midway through the game, and if you're trading goals, you're okay.
How important is Brazzers for them?
It's important for me. Oh, Brazeau.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he scored a hat trick. You know what I am impressed by, Tim? He's really good stick handling in tight spaces, like standing still, like that goal he got right in front, the one where he went backhand. He's
been doing that since the first goal of the first game.
Yeah, that was smooth. I got to be honest, Tim. It reminds me of me in deck hockey.
Well, have you paid him with that compliment in person yet?
I don't talk to anybody anymore, Tim. I just want it to be over.
You go in the Penguins locker room sometimes, though, don't you?
I do, but I don't relate. I'm too old. Like, I talk to, like, Ben Kindle, who's a super nice kid, and I can tell he looks at me like, who's this grandpa? So I just talk to Sid and Tanger because, we go back.
Yeah, because they'll be grandparents soon, too, themselves. So keep that in mind. But
Not Sid.
That's right. He's got to become a father first. I heard you talking about that on the radio. Do you think that's playing into his long-term plans? Like, the literal family planning element of it?
I don't know. I mean, I know Sid's going to have kids. He just
he's such a diligent guy. That guy, I don't put that beyond him to, kind of factor that into his whole calculus.
No. Sid plans everything. Obsessive planner. Yeah.
So I could see that kind of playing a role in whether he decides to stick. I'm sure he'll stick around through his contract. I think he set it up for 3 years for an express reason.
Sid'll be a great hockey dad. He'll go down to the bench before the shootout and retape his kid's stick blade.
What'd you make of some of the? I don't think we've talked since O'Hearn signed with the Pirates. What'd you make of that move?
I think they overpaid a little bit for him, but I also think they have to.
You have to.
2 years. That's a good sign. First time since Ivan Nova back in, I want to say 2016. So, yeah, I mean, I think they made the team better. I think people who say it's a playoff team now are overreaching. I think they need at least one more bat to even be a 500 team, quite honestly.
They'll have to overpay as well to get the Japanese third baseman, first baseman that they're apparently courting. I heard for $64 million.
That's a gamble, isn't it? I mean, you don't know that guy's going to be any good here, but I think it's a good gamble.
Yeah, the one time they really made a gamble on one of the Asian League hitters, it was Jung Ho Gung, and that worked out until he got hurt.
Well, until he became a sex-fiend drunk driver.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with baseball. So from a baseball perspective, it worked out. It wasn't that derailed him. It was the slide into second base that derailed him.
Well, did he get hurt? I don't remember, Tim.
Yeah, he got hurt. He got his leg blown up on a slide from somebody in Chicago. I'm trying to remember who it was. Zobrist.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Who cares? They lost.
Yeah, and Joe Madden said he had plantar fasciitis. That was the cherry on the sundae of the whole explanation.
How'd Joe Madden know?
He didn't know. That was the point.
Yeah, again, Tim, we're going into trivia about a team that hasn't won since forever.
Well, when you talk about getting one more bat to be 500, it doesn't take much more than being 500 to be a wild card contender. You need to be
even right now, Tim, depending on when they have their bad streak, and obviously relying on the pitching to stay healthy. But depending on when they have their bad streak, because they will, every team does, and how bad and how good their good streak is. I sound like Chuck Tanner. You win 54, you lose 54. It's what happens in the other 54. But I think they can stay in the playoff race all year. And that's really, more than anything, the minimal acceptable level of accomplishment.
I think a lot of this, too, and people don't want to speak about it from this perspective because it doesn't sound like the altruistic, they're doing it for the fans. They're doing it to try to win right now because Paul Skeens and his window. That's what everybody wants to talk about. That'd be the baseball-y reason to do all this. But the real reason they're doing this is because they're catching heat from the players' union. They're catching heat from the agents. They don't know what's going to happen coming up with the labor stoppage in 27. And the big thing, Mark, if there is to be a cap and a floor, or even if there is to be a more structured cost efficiency program that isn't a cap and a floor, they need to add dollars. They need to have money on the books. And they don't want to be like some of the hockey teams that we saw when the salary cap got implemented that had to throw good money after bad with aging veterans just to get to the minimum of whatever the cost structure analysis is.
Believe me, anything the Pirates do that involves finance, I totally trust.
They're doing the financial baking right now so that they can have a cake when it comes out of the oven. And whatever that is in 2027, they have to be a part of the whole ecosystem. And they're not even close to being that right now. That's part of why they're doing what they're doing right now.
Totally agree, Tim. Full credit to them.
Let's get to some comments. We'll start things off here with Alec, who says the Ravens actually could be dangerous in the playoffs, especially with a healthy Lamar. Steelers don't have a single player who intimidates other teams, correct? I will say this. I can't remember who it was. Somebody on CBS, I think it was James Jones, was talking about who from the two teams, if they get in, could actually make a run between the Steelers and the Ravens. The answer is it's the Ravens because they have one single identifiable thing that they do well. They hand the ball to the running back and he can run. The Steelers don't have one single identifiable thing that they do well consistently.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they shouldn't bring back Rodgers no matter what. He just ain't good enough. He's 42. He won't get better. He has games where he just fades out, like yesterday where he was, bitching instead of leading, where his arm was all over the place. He's anointed his targets. It's not working to the degree it should. He can't come back. And like you would think he's the one identifiable thing that could, win the occasional game. And it has.
Oh, no, he's been too inconsistent.
Game. It won't win a playoff game.
Right. He's been too inconsistent for me to think that. Just look at the Chargers game. What if they get the Chargers again? And I keep saying this. I don't care who it is that they draw as the 4 seed. If they do happen to beat Baltimore, they will be an underdog, and justifiably so, to any team that comes to Acrisure Stadium. Hey, right now they're a 3.5-point underdog in the regular season finale against Baltimore, and they're
not beating Baltimore. They're not beating Baltimore.
Yeah, I think it's a very worthy line.
Tim, I thought they were going to be Cleveland up until the last incompletion. I thought Cleveland would just be Cleveland, but they're not going to beat Baltimore. They blew their window. They had their opportunity. Now it's gone. And even if they do win, they blew a bye week for guys who really needed to sit, like Rodgers, Hayward, Ramsey, etc.
Right, exactly. And the other teams are all scrambling for position, or at least until this past week, we're trying to lock things up. I think at least if I'm remembering right, at least the South is still up for grabs. So you could wind up with one of those two teams that's trying to play their way in and have a bye. And now you don't have it because you frittered it away against a team that had 3 wins coming in.
It's funny because like last night, I'm seeing on Twitter and I'm hearing on radio, you only got to win one game. Doesn't matter which game. No big deal. I mean, yesterday was unmitigated freaking disaster. To quote the Big Lebowski, the plane has crashed into the side of the mountain. But everybody says, oh, la-di-da, winning record, la-di-da.
One thing I heard in the post-game show yesterday, people were talking about next week's game, and somebody said there are things that they can fix from this week. Well, there are. Of course there are, because so many things went wrong.
Can't fix the passing game.
Yeah, and the big thing is, the B to that is the one thing you can't fix is you can't turn Thielen, MVS, and Scotty Miller into DK Metcalf. That's never going to happen. You don't have a receiver. Even if Austin comes back, that ain't going to be enough.
Yeah, do all you dopes out there still think DK did the right thing because he stood up to that guy and you can't take any crap and you got to prove you're a man? You still think he did the right thing? You still think the blue-haired guy screwed up? He going to get paid, yo.
When do the wheels finally fall off of the Steelers, asks Mark. A losing season, the team is aging poorly, they don't draft well, and have no clue how to run a front office.
They fall off intermittently for the last how many years?
Yeah, I mean, for what their standard is.
When do they fall off and stay off? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're going to take, if what you're asking is what is it going to take for them to realize that Tomlin isn't the right coach anymore, multiple losing seasons in a row. Art Rooney II isn't even thinking about getting rid of Tomlin, even if they were to lose badly against Baltimore.
Well, I will say this about Art Rooney II, Tim. He can handle things. He's smart, not dumb like people say.
Derek, here it is, Mark. The NFL is scripted, but only because Tomlin does the same thing every season since 2019. So it's the Tomlin script, not the NFL script. It's the Tomlin script. Actually, since 2016, by the way, not 2019.
It would be a mini collapse if they lose to Baltimore, but it would be indeed another late season collapse.
This is Johnny Knoxville. It says Lamar is malingering and trying to get Harbaugh fired. He's not coming back this year.
No, he's not. Shut up.
I think Snoop, at this point, like Mark said, might be more of a tactical advantage because he's healthy as opposed to Lamar. But again, I can't get away from how the Steelers are going to try to game plan this and might game plan themselves into oblivion as a result.
If Snoop starts and the Ravens beat the Steelers and make the playoffs, that'll be a message sent to Lamar, won't it?
Steeler Lifey says, this Steelers stuff is all just hilarious. I'm here for the pure comedy at this point. Well, it's a tragedy or a comedy or both. I'm not sure which it is. It depends on what angle you're looking. I'm sure the guy with the blue hair thinks it's a comedy.
Well, you know what else is going on too, Tim? And it shows how tribal people are when it comes to their opinions about sports. I would think that everybody supporting the Steelers would be livid today. Livid today. The media covering the Steelers would be livid today. Instead, there's still X amount of people defending Tomlin, defending the team. We're going to win this Sunday, blah, blah, blah. I just don't get that, but whatever. It makes me glad I'm a lot closer to the end in the middle.
The whole we're going to win this week and we're going to win the division thing. All right, so you're 10-7 again. You went through all this stuff with Rodgers. You're not going to win a playoff game because you're going to lose to whoever comes here for the postseason game. Like, there's nothing that has improved then if that's the case. The win on Sunday does nothing to change the narrative if you're actually following the narrative.
You ever see that routine Eddie Murphy did where he said that Elvis sang his lines in the movies because he couldn't act? Like, we're going to win this race. That reminded me of.
This is
lemonade, that's cool, refreshing drink.
This one comes from, I don't know, it's just a bunch of letters and numbers. I wonder why I knew Tomlin Steelers would lose yesterday. Yeah, because they set themselves up for this all the time. Mark, you said on the podcast that the reason that people can believe that they were so obsessed with the Myles Garrett record that it affected their game planning is because they had the attitude that they were going to assume that they would win.
Yeah.
Winning was assumed going into the game because they had won 3.
If they did try to protect the Watt record, it would be because they assumed winning and let their priorities skew. But again, I don't think they did that. Although Romo made the case for that throughout the game, I'm told. I couldn't hear the sound. And then, of course, I'll tell you what about Myles Garrett, Tim. You got to give that guy credit. He's the best defensive player of his generation, and he knows just how to stick the needle in, don't he?
Yeah, afterwards with the comments for sure. And yeah, Romo and Nance both made that point over and over again. I felt like they were covering the sack record chase as much as they were covering the game. Nance at one point wound up because he thought 95, not 91 had a sack, and he was getting ready to pay it off with a big call. And then he realized it was somebody else besides Garrett that got the sack.
As I've said repeatedly, the sack's the most overrated play in football. The only sack that matters is the third or fourth down sack. The first and second down sack, it don't matter no more. It's just too easy to get the yards back.
But at any rate, I mean, like, the point is a valid one that trying to stop Garrett from getting the sack record and trying to stop Garrett from wrecking the game are one and the same thing. Like, it's not out of beyond the pale to suggest that they were obsessed with Garrett not getting to Rodgers. Not getting to Rodgers and trying to win the game is smart, but it does dovetail with the goal of preventing him from getting the record. Yes.
No question. I don't think that was a primary goal, put it that way. There were times I thought it looked like there were times Rodgers dumped real quick when Garrett was in the vicinity, but he's doing that to not get hit by Garrett. I'd do the same thing regardless of what the stats were.
Nothing encapsulates the degradation of the Steelers' mythos more than prioritizing a meaningless sack record over winning a game that could get you the division 9-8 forever. So that guy is building off the point that we just talked about.
But here's the thing, Tim. Here's how you know that wasn't the case, that wasn't what they did. Because if I suspected even for a second, if it was even remotely logical that they did that, I would be all over that all the time because it's great to talk about, to denigrate, to criticize. I just don't think it's true.
This guy, Mark, says the game against the Ravens is really hard to predict. Steelers seem to bounce back after we bury Tomlin, but this is essentially a playoff game, and we know how they perform in those.
Yeah, I don't care. I keep coming back to that. I mean, it'd be nice to get a playoff game because then I could get paid for a viewing party. That's as far as I'll go. It's impossible to tell me if I'm wrong about this. It's really hard to invest in this team emotionally, isn't it?
Yeah, because you kind of know what we just talked about it. The script for 9 years has been the same.
Well, not only that, losses like yesterday. I mean, how can all of you not be madder than you are? I don't get it. You should all be giving up. You should all be giving up. You should turn Acrisure into a cauldron of boiling hate on Sunday. You should ruin the draft. This is unbelievable.
Last one, it comes from Golf God 11, who says, what a selfish move by DK. He fits in well with the Tomlin team.
Yeah, I'm tired of talking about that, too. I mean, it happened. The most outrageous thing, well, we knew the passing game would be ruined without him, so that's no surprise. If he's in the game yesterday, they win, and he should think about that when he sleeps at night, if he can, which he shouldn't. I'm sure he does, and dreams about the blue-haired guy. But the most outrageous thing this week regarding that, it's not even the press conference by the blue-haired guy, Tim. It is that they reinstated his guarantees. That is unbelievable. But it shows there is no accountability whatsoever in that organization. It's just one big happy get-along gang.
Mark, where's the viewing party this week?
All-Star Grill in South Point.
All right, so Mark will be there.
And I hate the friggin' 8:30 game, too. Hate it.
Yeah, it's an 8:30 game in case you missed it, or 8 o'clock or whatever's going to kick off, 8:15, 8:20. It's the NBC Peacock game to close out the regular season. We will be here regardless of how it goes on Monday. I'll be out in Boston, but I'll still be checking in for Madden Benz Unfiltered. And, no, I take that back. I'll be back in time for that one. It's the Friday Football Show where I'll be in Boston, so you can watch that here live, 9 a.m. with myself and Mike DeCourcy. Mark is on at 2 o'clock today. If you missed some of this, it'll be played back.
Whether I want to be or not.
Mark is on 2 o'clock at 105.9 The X. We're all brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. Meet me at Mike's.